Hey y'all, welcome back to another stream. Again, we are writing for, I really need to create cards. Maybe I'll do that next week. We're a third of, or 1/4 of the way done. Anyway, I digress. Thank you all for joining me. We are going to go ahead and continue writing. I know I'm a little late tonight, but I did get my packing done, so that's good. Yeah, let's go ahead and get to writing. Just as a quick reminder, all revenue goes to babydj.org in December. So I did adjust my ads in Twitch to be a little bit more frequent. I honestly did briefly thought about being obnoxiously long with them, but so I get more revenue share, but I figure why change it now, you know? So I will go ahead and, this is a writing stream, not me rambling about the fact that it's also a charity stream. So, yeah. Sorry for the rambles. I'm trying to get focused and get to writing. Where we last left off, Deja basically, well, you weren't here when I wrote that, but basically told Raimi that she will go ahead and not partner with him, but if he goes on trial for his crimes, she'd put in a good word for him as long as he doesn't, if he ends up getting exiled, he requests to be exiled, not in the Silac Forest. So we'll see how that plays out. This is, people's trajectories aren't going where I want them to go, which is kind of frustrating. So I've got to figure out a way to honestly get the two women back together. Because it's kind of important later on. For that, I need to figure a few things out. But sitting here rambling's not going to do me any good. So I just need to figure out what's going to be next, logically speaking, in the story of these peoples. So, Deja was talking with Raimi in the middle of the night, made the deal with him. Farah was traveling with Nick, who's basically bringing her back to her people after she nearly died. They're a couple of days out from that. Luca and the Azores basically murdered a Carlathian. Unfortunately, the only other Carlathian viewpoint we had was Keshif, and he is dead, ? So we'll see. I don't know. Who's which I want to go for? Excuse me. I guess the next viewpoint will be Deja's, unless we want to hear what's going on with Luca. But Luca won't. Well, yeah, this is going to be a Luca chapter. Luca sat on her branch. Back against the trunk of the tree, and eyes positioned outward over the forest to the south, east, west, north, over the forest to the north. Ever since her confrontation with Elder Elkin, she had been tasked with watching the camp direct watching over the camps. Points. He won't let me. He won't risk me going to find. Risking my brother. She thought to herself as her eyes panned over the distance, the forest in the distance, watching for any trace that someone might be passing through. Someone from another tribe. Oh, by the way, I didn't get any writing done today, so I hold no illusions that I'm going to hit 3,000 words tonight. That's, unless I get inspired, that's just not going to happen. We'll go as far as we can in the hour that we've got. And I will try to push it to an hour tonight. Alright, anyway. You won't risk me going to rescue my brother, she thought to herself, her eyes panned over the forest, watching for any trace of someone from another tribe might be passing through. As it usually was, however, it was quiet. And the only presence that she had seen was a tribesman returning from a hunt. She loathed this task. Her eyes were keen, and it suited her talents well. However, I'll say easily bored. What's a quick phrase for we'll just say easily bored. Easily bored young woman preferred to venture out into the forest and do her work. And scout to see where the neighboring tribes of scouts. That's awkward. That's what Ed's word might be located. The Azores had a reputation for being cunning and a tribe that cuts down enemies, that either cuts down or takes their enemies prisoner. It was a well-earned reputation. She could admit that. However, those encounters were generally not with attractive girls like her. Her task was to be the eyes of the Azores. Her task was to be the eye of the forest on behalf of the Azores. Her task, when she was permitted to do it, was to be the eyes of the Azores on the forest, not immediately surrounding the camp. course, there were oftentimes disinformation was used to hunt down any other tribes that might be getting closer. That, however, was not always the case. That day when she and Rainey came across the Foreseen and the Aldir Scout, for example, it's just a routine perimeter check. Rainey had been tasked with scouting the land, and Luca had no tasks assigned to her, so she had opted to join him from the trees. She felt more at home up in the branches than she'd been down close to the earth. Though her pathways were vastly limited, especially when the tree density grew thin. Her pathways were vastly limited, especially when the tree density grew thin. Oh man, I'm so sorry, guys. There's just something about, I don't think it's boring, there must be something about, like, writing with a screen like this that just does it for me. Although, I guess sometimes I do this while streaming games too, so maybe it's just streaming in general. I don't know. I don't intend to. Anyway, she felt more at home up in the ranches than down close to the earth. Though her pathways were vastly limited, especially when then, she enjoyed the challenge of figuring out the paths from one tree to another. Sometimes it was a dangerous task. A weak branch that looked weaker than it was, that looked stronger than it actually was, nearly bested her a time or two. However, she kept in top physical shape just so she could readily handle situations like that when they happen. A quick hop back to the main branch or to another nearby branch, and she would be fine. A smile crossed her lips. She fondly remembered all the times she tested and failed. Hold on, how do I want to phrase this? She tested and failed her ability to cross branches. lot of the other trackers opted to use the trees just as perches to observe, but not Luca. Luca decided that if she was going to be effective, it made more sense to go from tree to tree than ground to tree to ground and then to tree again. More ground and more vantage points were simply gained, simply by being able to move from tree to tree like that. More ground and more vantage points are gained simply by being able to move from tree to tree like that. It just made sense to her. But for now, she was stuck on this tree, unmoving, as she fulfilled the tasks her elder asked of her. Looks like there's a rock going up. There would be no one to ride out to the knights, to the Foreseen knights that were waiting for them. And by now, they had already probably begun their trek. That were waiting for them. I'm revising the sentence a little bit. Alright. Luca looked up toward the sky, noting that the sun, noting the sun's position shortly beyond the midpoint of the day. Once the sun started dipping closer to the edge of the horizon, the knights would no longer be waiting. They'll be making their way back to Foreseen with the Foreseen and her brother. So a heavy sigh came from can you sigh through your nose? These are the distracting questions that don't need to be asked right now. And yet here I am asking them. A heavy sigh a heavy breath came from the woman's nostrils. There wasn't any getting around it. The head restroom. Rainy would be lost to her. casting a glance behind her, she watched the figures of her camp moving around as they prepared, as they toiled through the day. Men and women fashioning goods for the tribe to use. Tents, clothing, weaponry. The matron was educating young children about some subject or another. Most likely the tribe's history was a favorite subject of theirs to reiterate. She then cast her. Have I given her eyes a color? Oh. I'll say gray. The gray eyes around her. She could barely see them. The other trackers who were tasked with watching the perimeter from their trees vantage points. Around her. Everyone was doing their part. She should be doing hers as well. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to best do this next part. Did she want to do it though? The Azords took her in. They were children. Their parents had died in a raid. Luca held no illusions about who the people behind the raid were. Luca held no illusions about who the people behind the raid were. Even when those same people declared that they would graciously adopt the two orphans and raise them to be proud Azords. Other than murdering their parents, if they were even part of the tribe and not some caravan that ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Other than we're not concurrent to the tribesmen. If they are even part of our tribe, not for caravan. Other than that, is where the tribe did right by the siblings, feeding them and raising them to be great, to be strong warriors. Feeding them and raising them to be strong warriors. Up until now, that is. With the bitterness in your heart. The choice wasn't really a choice. Why was she hesitating? Amy, her brother, would still be likely, it's still likely be salvageable. Is that a phrase? Salvageable? Amy, her brother, would still likely be able to be saved. Just had to reach. She just had to be able to reach them in time and play her cards just right. Therein lay the problems. She had to reach him in time, even if she left now and worked the horse breathless. There would the window in which she was able to catch up to reach the nights again would be very small. She's likely has to chase them down once they start moving and hope to catch them either en route or when they were at camp and the camp. Then she would have to figure out a way to get her brother out of their grasp. They were obviously formidable fighters. They were obviously formidable fighters. Being able to was certain that if she tried to pipe them by herself, she had no chances of success. She wasn't even nearly as great of a fighter as many others were. She'd have to rely on trying to talk her brother. She'd have to rely on trying to talk her way, or trying to talk the knights into giving her brother his freedom. Or utilize some other tactic to get him freed. She was certain that they wouldn't fall for any ruses, though. Any common ruses. And she didn't know. Oh. She was something that wouldn't fall for any common ruses, and she didn't know their training well enough to be able to exploit anything. But she was able to get her brother somehow free through cunning means. They'd still have to figure out a way back to the tribe. Figure out the way back to the tribe without being cut down by the knights, who would likely send at least one person in pursuit. And that was all of that, assuming at the very beginning she could find a way to leave her post with the tribe without raising any suspicions about what she was doing. The moment Elder Elkin found out that she left her post, he'd likely be worried about what she was doing, what she left to do. Rightly so. And would have her hunted down and brought back, and likely punished. The man had already written Rainy off as a prisoner of war and did not expect him to come back. The man had already written Rainy off as a prisoner of war and did not expect him to come back. Even if she was able to do all of that and return to Sylark Kept her brother safely in tow, she wouldn't be able to return to the tribe. For that very reason. The elder would have, let's say, a bounty, a target on both of their heads, and likely a kill on sight order would be decreed, would be given. Likely. Sort crossed her face. Just what she figure out a new way to live. Maybe she'll try making friends. Tribe. That scout seems nice enough. Alright, so where are we at with the word count? It's here. 13, 4, 28. Nice. Okay. Been away. Alright. Where am I? Where was I? Where are we? New chapter or just new section of the chapter? New chapter. Still gonna be Lucas POV though. No, we're not gonna do chapter 28 yet because it's gonna have to be done soon. Whatever she was going to do, it needed to be done now. To be done now. She needed a horse and weapons. And hopefully she needed a horse and weapons. Those wouldn't come too easily. But, excuse me. This won't. But she was beginning to get on how to distract the tribe enough. She needed a horse and weapons. More weapons than just her bow. This won't come too easily, but she was beginning to get an idea on how to distract the tribe enough to gather them for herself. The problem is, I don't have the idea. Whatever she's gonna do, need to be done now. She needed a horse and her bow. mean, yeah. She shifted her position, moving from her languid, her lounge position by the trunk to a slight crouch, and shuffled a bit toward the girl. After her left. She made a motion with her hands that resembled a bird flying. There was no meaning behind the motion. It was just something to capture the other girl's attention. Once she had the other girl's attention, she signed. Oh, wow. Hey, alright, sorry. I'll share the other girl's attention. She signed. Stomach hammer. You need to walk. Stomach hammer. You need to walk. The other girl looked at her confused. I'm so bothered. Luca shook her head and signed. Other cramps. Need the soil. Need soil. Look, if people can use this as an excuse for things like work and stuff, definitely. Do it in fantasy stories too. The look. I don't want to use the again. Horror washed over the other girl's face, and she nodded hurriedly. Go. Quick. Return. Quick. Luca just gave her a thumbs up in acknowledgement and made her way quickly down the tree. Hurried more toward the north, and hurried toward the north, until she was certain she was going to be out of everyone's views. Captain's view. Up behind this small cluster of trees. And pulled an arrow out of her quiver. I require aid. As she made her way back to the camp, her face and exposed thighs, dirty and bloodied. Quickly enough, there was a man who rode out to meet her on a black horse. She knew this man to be Bob. To be that. He was twice her age. And luckily for her, eager to start a fight. Oh, I forgot. I required her face and exposed eyes, dirty and bloodied. She shuffled. She was shuffling with her parents. Still somewhat still around her ankles, with her ripped pants, let's say ripped pants, still around her ankles. What occurred? He asked brusquely. Some other tribesmen. Yeah. She spoke with a constricted voice. Looking back over toward the gathering trees she had ducked behind. She motioned toward her pants. to bring her pants back up. As she was making lotions, that rode past her and in search of her assailant. With her pants back in place, Luca made her way, still pretending to be injured, back into camp. Need to get patched. Need patched. Paid. She signed to Lucia, the girl she told that who she asked, who she told was going to be the girl who she informed she would be going down. That doesn't make sense. Just Lucia, the girl with whom she signed earlier. Once inside the camp, Luca began to head toward Amender, but then somehow got distracted by the men forging the blades. She picked up they paid her no mind. As always, they paid her no mind. Beyond the initial glance to see who was in their vicinity. Once neither were looking, she pocketed a dagger that was resting on the edge of the case. She slipped into her pant pocket. The sharp edge was enough to cut into her leg, to cut through the pants and into her leg, but she ignored it. She was already supposedly injured there already. Hold on 1 second. Oh, we're almost at an hour. Cool. I'll finish up the scene though. That's just me. She had left a couple of her arrows behind, broken as if she had tried to use them to fend off these, defend him off the mystery attacker. Alright. She was already supposedly injured there already. dagger in the pocket. And bow and arrow. Quiver. Slung across her body. She made a beeline for the horses. Master asked as she strode confidently to the stables. Yes, an incident occurred. She pointed toward cuts on her face and neck. I'm going to help that. I'm going to help that. The man gave her a cautious look. A wary look. Everyone knew that Bats didn't like him getting in his way of fighting. I'm asking anyone for help locating was not a character. She shrugged. You thought I asked it. She shrugged at the obvious distrust. He's what I asked. Need to help. I can go back to watching. Maybe you won't mind. But to tell Bats he's on his own. Go back to watching. Well, you won't mind. But I won't be able to tell Bats that he's on his own. He's on the road ahead. The grumble and ran his hand over his face. Fine. He said gruffly. Make it worse. Go. Yeah, push backs. A few minutes later, as Jessica was riding off on her horse, which I haven't named yet, but oh well. To do the southern exit. Yells. As southern exit. No. After Luca rode her horse to the northern exit, she veered him sharply westward. She had no doubts that Lydia was now on her way to report. The suspicious behavior. Alright. The one thing I regretted was that she didn't decide to do this earlier, that she could have prevented the tribe from following her. So that she could have given a more bombastic, a more colorful farewell. That was a long chapter. That's because I broke it down into those parts. Alright. So, yay, we beat the hour. By a little bit, but that's fine. Go ahead and wrap it up here. Where are we at word count wise? 14,202. What was I at when I started? Today was 11,909, so would it be 14,909? I'll see if I can get more words typed out today, because that would be cool if I can. But in the meantime, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me. I will be back tomorrow night around the same time, so keep an eye out on Discord and or Instagram to know when I'm going live, and I will see you next time. Bye!